So the church is in the news again. And it's not for any of the reasons we would want it to be. It's not because of organizations building orphanages or hospitals in Africa, or because she's inspiring people with hope and faith around the world. It's because a high-ranking clergyman has been caught in a sex abuse scandal. And there's a lot that could be said about this, but I'm not really interested in defending the institution from its critics or assuming that I know how to fix this problem, because I don't. But we can be sure that those who are in charge are on top of it. After all, the many people who were responsible for enabling and covering up this behavior have come forward in resignation and contrition and are owning up to their responsibility. I'm sorry, this is not the kind of commentary I want that to be. So that's going to be the last sarcastic pot shot that I'm going to make. And I'm going to need you to keep me accountable for that, because it's going to be hard. So instead, I want to talk about how these kinds of revelations affect the Catholic faithful, because it seems like a lot of people are struggling with their faith in light of this news. And when people are sent into a crisis of faith like this, I think it's worth asking why. And in my own experience of going through seasons in which my own assumptions were being contradicted by reality, you feel this sense of a loss of control and certainty. But that's actually good for you. Ideally, it should bring about a process by which your assumptions and conclusions about the world are being adjusted to better reflect the actual world. So that raises a question. Do scandals like this reveal some aspect of reality that contradicts the Catholic faith, as it actually is? When we find out that members, and even well-respected members of our community, are capable of deceit and impropriety and even abuse, does that lead to the conclusion that the faith isn't true? Well, what do we know about the faith and the church? We know that Jesus Christ came to rescue humanity from its fallenness and brokenness by his death and resurrection. Okay, so descriptions of fallenness and brokenness, that doesn't really contradict the presence of scandalous behavior. We know that he established a church so that his saving grace and incarnate presence would be made available to every generation, not just the one that was kicking it at the time of the Gospels. And that his saving grace is a remedial measure for our fallenness and brokenness and sinfulness. Again, the presence of sin and brokenness are well established, so scandalous behavior shouldn't surprise us. And we also know that he gave certain members of the church, the apostles, divine authority to teach and to forgive sins, as is explicitly recorded in the Bible. And I think this is where people start to get hung up. Like, how can we have faith that the bishops and cardinals, the successors of the apostles, still retain this mandate and authority when they are capable of this kind of corruption? Well, the answer to that is a bit of a mystery. How can God continue to use corrupt human beings to keep this venture moving forward? We really don't know, but somehow he does. When Pope Benedict was elected to the papacy, when it came time for him to come out and greet and address the crowd that was waiting outside in St. Peter's Square, he said that he was comforted by the fact that the Lord knows how to work and act with insufficient instruments, obviously referring to himself. Jesus never said that the church would be sinless, and this follows a pattern that is consistent in the church's history. And even look at the apostles themselves. He chose the most unlikely group of people to lead a movement that would change the course of human history. The fact that God uses insufficient instruments should reinforce your faith that it's God who is leading and sustaining the church. If you expect your priests and bishops to be immaculate, then you're just playing at idolatry rather than real, authentic Catholic Christianity. And if nothing else, occasions like this should be an opportunity for us to recalibrate our faith so that it better reflects the state of affairs of the militant church. Hilaire Belloc has one of the best quotes on this point. He said something like, a proof of the church's divinity might be found in the fact that no merely human institution conducted with such knavish imbecility would have lasted a fortnight. The Catholic Church is the longest lasting institution in Western civilization. And it's not because of some brilliant conspiracy or system of governance, the more you look into its historical record, the more you realize, or the more you have to conclude, that it's a miracle that it's lasted this long. Only God could have gotten this thing off of the ground and kept it going for as long as he has. So if you expected impeccable behavior from the church's members and leaders, then this scandal, as well as every past and future scandal, is an opportunity to just tear down your idols and worship God, who by his grace is the sole reason for all the good that exists within the church. As a final disclaimer, I just want to say that if I gave the impression that I was suggesting that we should do nothing in light of these scandals because this is just the way it is, then I want to dispel that by saying that we should do everything we can to seek reform and to root out all the wolves in sheep's clothing. But as we do so, let's not lose sight or faith of Christ or his church in the process. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that, then please consider subscribing and liking, and come find me on Facebook and Twitter. It's a huge help when you do that. It helps us get these videos in front of more and more people. And a big thank you goes out to You Catholic for presenting these videos. And if you want to support the making of these videos, then please consider supporting my work as a digital media and marketing expert. My company, Holdsworth Design, specializes in branding, web and graphic design, marketing, social media, videography, and all that kind of good stuff. So if you know of a parish, a diocese, a ministry, or a business that needs help in those areas, then please send them our way and I'm sure we can help them out.